welcome back to another episode of Togl. This week I will start off by showing you the remainder of that veggie patch that we were building last week, getting that finalised and getting some plants into it. Once we're done with that, you can come back and join me, and I'm taking the tractor up the top. I've got a bit more of a ditch that I need to dig. I'm just still trying to divert some of that water away from the road so that the road itself isn't so boggy. So grab yourself a beverage, sit back and get ready for this episode. I hope you like it. Well, here we are, day 3 of getting this second veggie patch built. Battery's all charged. It's a nice early start. As you can see, it's still shaded here, so nice and early. Still a lot of dew around, but we'll get cracking straight into this. I want to get those panels up in the next hour or two and then start getting the soil and the logs and all that sort of stuff in. So I won't show you the cutting up of the timber. We've seen enough of that. I'll get this finished. Once it's done, I'll show you, and then we'll get to filling it. Well, I'm down to the last panel, which is really good, making pretty good time too. So basically I just needed to square off the ends, cut that off. Now this one needs to be 188 centimeters. Alright, we'll get that marked off and square the other end. Okay. It's getting pretty warm as well. So I'm glad I'm almost finished this, because then it'll just be tractor work. I'll be just driving around, which will be good. All these offcuts straight into the bottom of the veggie patch. Okay, and then so the last thing that I need to do on this is to get the other edge. So what I've been doing is clamping this in. Gives me a nice clear cut out there where I'm not going to accidentally chop into the sawhorse with the saw, because that wouldn't be good. So what I do is just check what it is at about its skinniest, which looks like about 30. Yeah, so it varies from 30 to 35. So what I'll do is mark 30 on one end, 30 on the other, do a straight line, then I've got a nice straight panel to go on there. And to do that straight line, I just use a chalk line. And now I've got a nice straight edge to cut along. I'll trim this off, get it screwed on, veggie patch done. Well, this is what I'm going to use as the logs to go in for the base of our hugelkultur garden. Now, in ramming that wasn't to try and get wood in, although I did see that a couple of bits went in. The main purpose of that was, it's getting hot. The tiger snakes are out. And we're just going to be coming in, well, probably still a few months off breeding season, but the point is, it is hot, and I've already seen a few tigers around. I've seen tiger snakes up to 1.5 meters long. They love to hide in wood piles. By ramming it, hopefully I've just chased anything out down into the gully. Just that little bit of extra added safety. So I'm going to load these logs up and then we'll go and dump them. There'll probably be a few bucket loads in there. Then we're putting the red dirt in, and then I'll put in sawdust and bark, and then we'll start getting the really good rich black soil to go in on top. And that should be the basis of really good soil for years to come. So we've now got a good layer of big logs, branches down through here. That'll take years to decompose. So it's already starting to get the, I'll put it up on the screen, I think it's called microcelia, or I can't remember the name of it. Mycelium, that's it, mycelium. So there's already a lot of mycelium starting to grow on some of these logs where they've been over in the log pile. And that's the stuff that really gives the soil all of its goodness and whatnot, and helps feed things like the worms and the other microbes. So this is a really good start. Now I've got to start doing runs across to the other side of the bridge, and I'll start getting some of that red dirt. We'll get this filled up, probably up to about here with the red dirt. I'll probably down to about there with the red dirt, because then I want to put a layer of bark and a sawdust and that in, and then we do that other layer. So off over the bridge, let's start putting some dirt in here. Well, 2 hours of driving that tractor backwards and forwards, and I think we've got enough dirt in here. It looks high at the moment, but it's really high in the middle. By the time I rake it all at that level, it should be about half full, I'm expecting. So yes, we'll just get this raked out, and then I'll go and start getting some sawdust and bark. Well, that's about as neat as it needs to be raked out before I put the next load of stuff in, which will be sawdust and bark. But have a look at the size of some of these worms. Like, let's take my gloves off. The worms that are around here that we find when we're digging up this dirt, they're just amazing. So, like beautiful big worms, like a little snake, isn't it? Should make great bait. Well, this one's going back into the garden anyway, it's his lucky day. But yeah, that's just the average garden worm that's around here. So beautiful soil, and really good to see those worms as well. So now I've got half the distance that I have been travelling. I just got to go up to the mill and back and grab that sawdust and dirty my glove. Grab that sawdust and bark. Then once I start getting the dark rich soil, that's the stuff that takes me a long time, because I've got to basically drive the car right up over the back of the hill up there to get that dirt, load up the ute. When I get back, I've got to shovel it out. That takes a lot of time and effort. But I'm pretty confident it will get done today. I'm going to be exhausted, but it will get done today. Now for the sawdust. And as if worrying about snakes wasn't enough, I'm finding scorpions in amongst all the bark. So it's a good thing I'm wearing gloves. Obviously not deadly, but probably wouldn't be nice. It'd probably hurt if they got you. Yeah. Now, Kay and I were up here a few days ago and we brought up a heap of the seedlings that she'd been sprouting in the hothouse, and we got them planted into the second veggie patch. Let me show you how they're going. We've had a couple of days of rain and they're doing really good, so I'll show you what we've got in there now. So I got this net draped over it. I will do the same over on the other side too, but what we have in here is it's probably easy to come around this side. So we've got little cucumbers, climbing cucumbers in here, and they're going to grow up this trellis right here. So that'll be our cucumbers, and then we've got iceberg lettuces there, cos lettuces there and there. These here were Brussels sprouts. So we've got, I'm going to twist this camera up. So there are Brussels sprouts in there. These here were all broccoli in there. A couple of rows of broccoli. And then over here we have a couple of rows of cabbages in there. So sort of keeping all the brassicas together. And then we come down to onions. So we've actually got some leeks. And then we've got a couple of rows of brown onions and a couple of rows of red onions. So we've got all the onions down through here. They're all doing really well too. And over on this side, the original one, it looks like none of the corn or beans have sprouted yet, but we have planted the 2 pumpkins. Remember I said about the 3 sisters theory? You can grow 3 crops at once. The corn grows up, the beans climb up the corn, which is good for the climbing beans, and it also supports the corn in strong windy areas, like if it's windy. And then you've got the pumpkins, which form like a mulch layer across the bottom. Oh, hang on, look at that, there's one right there. Yep, there's one right there. So corn is starting to come up a little bit. Fantastic. And then over here, the turnips are doing really well. I just got my sleeve hooked up, hang on, dang it. Would you look at this? I just got my sleeve caught a button in the netting. Hang on. All right, I'm undone. Right, so yeah, turnips and parsnips, and the carrots are now starting to come up. You can see the carrots all through there. They're all the fluffy ones in amongst the grass. There is grass. And you can see all of the beetroots are coming up really well now through here, and then there are the radishes, so that's all doing really good too. So a couple of days ago I moved the beehive that I'd put up on top of that stump, which you can actually see up in the background. I moved it down here. It's the one on the left with the 2, it's pure white. It's got the 2 sections to it. So that's the one that was up there on the stump that big swarm flew into, and they're still doing great. And so I've got the swarm I caught in 4th is in there. So that makes 3. I got this one here, which was a hive that I split. I took some of the bees out of that one with the purple bottom, put them into here, put a new queen into there, and that gave me that one. So that gives me the 4 colonies. The one up on the tree there, that's the one that we saw the swarm in first up. Nothing going on there, so it was definitely, they just all vacated. Maybe it was too small for them when they moved up to the stump, which I then moved that box down to here. However, and then when I did that, I put another box back up on the stump, an empty one, because I figured, well, you know, it seemed like a good spot. It's up nice and high, it's in the middle of the paddock, it gets the sun, and obviously the bees liked it. So I thought, well, I'll put an empty one up here. Now I did that on Wednesday afternoon. It's now Saturday afternoon, so 4 days ago. And would you have a look at this? I have got yet another swarm has moved in. This is just going fantastic. So there are bees in there. Now the one thing I'm not 100% sure of though is, are they stragglers that were left out overnight? and they've come back, or is it a brand new colony that's in there? Now I won't know that. I'm going to give it another week or so, and then if there's still a lot of activity going, I'll crack that open and have a look. But I think that could be another swarm in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I've got the one up home, which is 6 colonies. Not bad going. Well, it's a very wet, moody day today, so I won't be going up to the block to finish that trench. Instead, I'll get a few projects done around the house here. Just did a bit of housework. Now I want to chop up a little bit of firewood because with this rain it has cooled off a bit. And I gave Flick and Hamish a bath this morning, so I've got the fire going, but I need a bit more firewood just to get them to dry out in the warmth. Now, a good friend and relation of mine, Shane and Tiff, they sent me one of these. Now what this is, it's a wood splitter. You put it into your drill, and when you drill it in, because of the taper on it, supposedly it splits the wood. A lot easier than swinging that wood splitter, so we're going to see how that goes this morning. Hopefully it works just like you see it do on TV, and if it does, laughing. It will make life a lot simpler in splitting wood. So let's see how this goes. A bit windy out there too. Definitely not the best weather. Now some of this wood's a bit knotty, so that might cause a few issues too, but let's start with something that's fairly straight. Alright, let's get a different battery. Maybe it's not the battery. We'll see. Alright, pretty tough. Alrighty, I'm going to have to screw that one out manually. It looks like it's got stuck in there, which I'm not surprised, but we'll see. Alright, I managed to get that out. I'm going to try even closer to the edge. There's actually a crack there too. We'll see what happens. I think my drill just doesn't have the power to split this apart, even though it's a really powerful drill. That's the problem. A lot of these things get made for Europe, European woods. They just can't deal with the Australian hardwoods. There's a crack here. I'll try again. Yeah, it took a bit off. That's kind of what it should do. Now that's a brand new. That's not the battery being flat. Alright. Might be able to only use this on softwoods. Yeah. Alright, back to the log splitter. It was a nice try, looks good. It might have its purpose with other timbers, but not the good old Australian hardwood. Come on in. Come on. So, is that so? You got a lot to say for a dog. You do. So one of the other projects that I've got for today is I want to set up some of these frames ready for those new beehives that we've got. Give them something to build on. So unlike the Kenyan top bar hives, with the Langstroth hives, you actually give them a frame. And what happens is you have a piece of this wax and it's already been pre-stamped. It's just beeswax and it's pre-stamped with the honeycomb cells, and it gives the bees something to start on. It also stops them building comb across. So if you've got 3 of these in like that, what you don't want is for them to build honeycomb across all 3. They've got to follow each one so that each one can be picked up individually. The way that we do that is by putting some of this wax foundation, they call it, into these frames. Now, because I didn't have a centrifuge to spin out the honey, when I took these out, I actually cut all the wax out. Now all that's left is this. Some have 2, some have 3 very fine wires running down there. So what I need to do is clean these all up with the tool, and then I will show you how I get this piece of foundation to stay in there. So I'm just scraping off all the excess wax that the bees have built up and propolis, just so that it's nice and clean and it's a nice clean fit when I put them into the beehive. Now, there is a groove in either end, or in the top and the bottom I should say. What I found is it's a little hard to scrape the wax out of there, so if I get the blowtorch going, what I do is I just soften the wax, and then it scrapes out a whole lot easier. Okay, so all the frames are all cleaned up, and now we're ready to put these wax foundations in. So it's really quite clever the way that they do this. What's up, mate? Dogs want some attention. Alrighty, always, as soon as the camera comes on, they're like kids. Pay attention to me. Alrighty, so basically what you need, there is specialist equipment you can buy for this, but you can do it very simply as well. You just need a low voltage battery system. I've actually got this little, it's like a battery jump starter, it's just for little 12 volts. You could literally just use a small, like a car battery, motorcycle battery, whatever, but I find this is very handy because it's got an on-off switch. And I use this up the block for many other things anyway. So what I did was, because these clips are a bit big, so I've got this smaller set of clips, and I just put some metal tags on the end, so I can just basically clip them on to give me a longer cable reach. Now, this wire is one continuous wire. It starts on one end, goes through, comes up the side, comes back to the other end. If it's 3, it will then go up and come across again, but it's always one continuous wire, and for good reason. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to run an electrical current through that wire, and anyone that knows anything about electricity will know that if you run electricity through a wire like that, think of a light globe, it will glow, it will get hot, it will get red hot. And that's the plan, is that if we put just enough power through it for the wires to warm up, the foundation will start to melt in, and then you got to turn it off. If you leave it on too long, it'll literally cut straight through and your foundation will fall all the way through. We don't want that. just enough to get it to glue itself in. Now, as I said, there's the grooves on the top and bottom as well. So what we need to do is basically drop the foundation into one of the grooves, fold this a little bit to get it to come in, and then we will pop it into the other groove. That's what holds the top and bottom. Okay. Now, that would pretty much hold as it is. And then as the bees build their wax comb, all those wires are going to be fused in anyway. But just for the process, let's do it. So what I need to do is connect this wire there, or that clip there to that wire, this clip to the other wire, and if I can get that to grab on, I can't, so I'm just going to hold it on. So I'll turn that on, I'll make that connection, and these wires will start to get hot, just like they are right about now. You can see it's starting to smoke a little on this end, and we'll turn that off. And wouldn't you know it, in showing you, I went a little too far and I started to slice through the other end. But that wire is now fused right through that piece of wax foundation, and that's solid, rock solid in there. And that's what the bees will then grow on. They'll make their comb in there, they'll fill that with whatever they need to fill it with, whether it be brood or wax or pollen, or honey, you know, they will build up on that. And so it's just a matter of going through the process. You just buy these sheets from your local beekeeper supplies, and we just put the next one in. And so I'll just go through this process now, and I will fit all of these. I'm making up 16 because it's normally 8 to a frame, and I've got 2 hives that I want to put these into. So I'll get this done and I'll get back to you shortly. And there we have it, a full box, and each one, just pull out, the bees should form on that without crossing over too much if we're lucky. That's how it goes, 8 to a frame. So basically I'll be able to just go in, pull out one of the old boxes, put this in, they'll make fresh comb into here, and as I said, fill it with honey or brood, whatever it is that they need to fill it with. So I'm going to wrap this video up here. Next week we will show you a little project that I'm working on. I want to make a carryall for the back of the tractor. It'll go onto the 3-point hitch. Basically, if you're looking at the tractor this way, it just comes down the back and comes out, and I can put an ICB or IBC, whatever they are, on there. I can carry whatever I want on there. It's just like a tray that's going to go onto the back, so I'm going to get to work on that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Have yourself a great weekend and a great week next week. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. I'll see you guys next Friday. Cheers.